running from a forced marriage. She knocked on the cowboy's door. His words stunned her. The desert was quiet that night. A soft wind moved across the dry land, carrying dust through the air. The moon shone brightly, lighting the empty road like a silver path. A young woman ran across that road, her breath heavy and fast. Her name was Elena. Her shoes were covered in dust, and her dress was no longer clean. Small tears showed how far she had come. She did not stop. She could not stop. Behind her was a life she did not want. Ahead of her, she did not know. Elena looked back again, her heart racing. She could not see anyone, but fear still followed her. The thought of being taken back made her chest tighten. "They won't find me," she whispered to herself. "They won't." But her voice shook. She had grown up in a large house, surrounded by rules. Her family was powerful, and they made decisions for her, what she wore, where she went, who she spoke to. And now, they had decided something else. Her marriage. A man she barely knew, a future she never chose. So she ran. The wind grew colder as the night deepened. Elena's legs felt weak and her steps slowed. She had been running for hours. Every breath felt harder than the last. Then, far ahead, she saw something. A small light. Her eyes widened with hope. "A house," she said softly. It stood alone in the open land, a simple wooden ranch house with a small lantern glowing near the door. A fence surrounded it, and beyond that, she could see shadows of horses resting quietly. Elena gathered her strength and ran toward it. When she reached the door, her hands trembled. She hesitated for only a moment. Then she knocked. Once. Twice. The sound echoed in the silence of the night. For a moment, nothing happened. Elena felt her fear rising again. What if no one was there? What if they refused to help? Then the door slowly opened. A man stood there. He was tall, with a calm face and steady eyes. He wore a simple shirt and boots, like someone used to hard work. His expression did not change as he looked at her. This was Caleb. He said nothing at first. He simply watched her, taking in her tired face, her shaking hands, and the fear in her eyes. Elena tried to speak, but her voice came out weak. "Please, I just need a place to stay, just for tonight." Caleb remained quiet for a few seconds. The wind moved between them, carrying the silence. Elena's heart sank. She thought he might close the door, but then he spoke. "You came a long way," he said calmly. She nodded quickly. "Yes, I have nowhere else to go." Another pause. Then Caleb stepped slightly aside, opening the door wider. "You're safe here," he said. Relief rushed through Elena like warm light. Her shoulders dropped, and she almost lost her balance. But before she could step inside, Caleb added something. "But only if you're ready to stop running." Elena froze. His words surprised her. She looked up at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Caleb leaned lightly against the door frame, his voice still calm. "I mean," he said, "you can hide for a night, maybe two. But whatever you're running from, it won't disappear just because you keep moving." Elena stared at him. No one had spoken to her like that before. Not with honesty, not without control. I don't want to go back," she said quietly. Caleb nodded once. "Then that's something you'll have to face. Not tonight, but soon." The wind softened, and the silence no longer felt so heavy. Elena looked past him into the house. It was simple. Wooden floors, a small table, a quiet fire burning in the corner. It felt warm, safe. For the first time in hours, she felt like she could breathe. "Can I stay?" she asked. Caleb stepped back fully this time. "You can stay," he said. Elena walked inside slowly. Each step felt unreal, like she had entered a different world. Caleb closed the door behind her, shutting out the cold night. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he walked toward the table and poured a glass of water, handing it to her. "Drink," he said. Elena took it with shaking hands. She didn't realize how thirsty she was until the water touched her lips. As she drank, she glanced at him again. There was something different about him. He wasn't asking questions. He wasn't judging her. But he also wasn't offering easy comfort. It made her feel safe, but also unsure. "Thank you," she said softly. Caleb gave a small nod. "You can rest here tonight," he said. "We'll talk in the morning." Elena looked toward the window. The moon still shone outside, but it no longer felt cold. For now, she had a place. But Caleb's words stayed in her mind. Stop running. She didn't know if she was ready for that, but for the first time, she wondered if she could be. Morning came slowly over the ranch. The golden sunlight spread across the land, touching the dry fields and wooden fences. Birds began to sing softly, and the quiet night turned into a calm day. Inside the house, Elena opened her eyes. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she saw the wooden walls, the small window, and the simple blanket around her. The memory returned. She had run, she had knocked, and the cowboy had let her stay. Caleb. She sat up slowly. Her body still felt tired, but her mind was clearer than before. The fear was still there, but it was quieter now. From outside, she heard soft sounds, footsteps, the movement of animals, and the creak of wood. Elena stood up and walked toward the door. When she stepped outside, the morning light made her blink. The air felt fresh and cool. She saw Caleb near the fence, feeding the horses. He moved calmly, like he had done this 1,000 times. For a moment, Elena just watched him. This place felt so different from her old life. There were no loud voices, no orders, no pressure. Just peace. Caleb noticed her and gave a small nod. "You're awake," he said. Elena nodded back. "Yes." There was a short silence before she spoke again. "Thank you for letting me stay." Caleb placed the feed bucket down and looked at her. "You're here for now," he said, "but staying comes with work." Elena blinked. "Work?" "Yes," he said simply. "This place runs on effort. Everyone who stays helps." Elena wasn't used to that. Back home, others did the work for her. She never had to think about it. But here, things were different. "I can try," she said quietly. Caleb studied her face for a moment, then nodded. "That's enough for now." The morning passed with small tasks. Elena followed Caleb as he showed her simple chores, carrying water, cleaning tools, and feeding the animals. At first, everything felt difficult. The bucket felt too heavy. The sun felt too strong. Her hands, soft from years of comfort, quickly became tired. But she didn't complain. She kept going. Caleb didn't say much. He only gave short instructions and let her learn by doing. Sometimes she made mistakes. Once, she spilled water all over the ground. Another time, she dropped a tool. Each time, she looked at Caleb, expecting him to get angry. But he didn't. He simply said, "Try again." That surprised her. By afternoon, Elena sat under a tree, breathing heavily. "I didn't know simple things could be so hard," she said. Caleb sat nearby, resting quietly. "They're only hard because you've never done them," he replied. Elena looked at her hands. They were a little dirty now, but she didn't mind. "This life, it's different," she said. Caleb gave a small smile. "Different doesn't mean bad." Elena thought about that. Back home, everything looked perfect, but she never felt free. Here, everything was simple, but somehow it felt real. After a while, she spoke again. "Why did you help me?" she asked. Caleb didn't answer right away. He looked out at the open land before speaking. "Because you asked," he said. Elena frowned slightly. "That's all?" "That's enough," he replied. As the sun began to set, the sky turned orange and pink. The ranch looked peaceful, almost like a painting. Elena stood near the fence, watching the horizon. She felt something new inside her. Not fear, not pressure, something softer. Caleb walked over and stood beside her. "You worked well today," he said. Elena looked surprised. "I did?" "You tried," he said. "That matters more." She smiled a little. No one had ever said that to her before. Later that night, they sat outside under the stars. The sky was full of light, brighter than Elena had ever seen. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Caleb nodded. "It always is. People just forget to look." Elena hugged her knees and looked up. After a moment, she spoke again. "I'm still scared," she admitted. Caleb didn't look at her. He kept his eyes on the sky. "That's normal," he said. "I don't know what will happen next," she added. Caleb finally turned to her. "You don't need to know everything," he said. "Just know what you want." Elena stayed quiet. What did she want? For so long, others had decided that for her. Now, the choice was hers. "I don't want to go back," she said slowly. Caleb nodded. "Then don't." She looked at him. "It's not that easy." "No," he agreed. "It's not easy, but it is simple." Elena frowned slightly. "Simple?" Caleb's voice was calm. "Freedom isn't something someone gives you," he said. "It's something you decide to take." Elena felt those words deeply. They stayed in her mind, stronger than anything she had heard before. That night, as she lay down to sleep, Elena felt different. Her body was tired, but her heart felt a little stronger. She wasn't just running anymore. She was starting to think, starting to choose, and maybe starting to change. The days passed quietly on the ranch. Elena slowly became stronger. Her steps were steadier, her hands more used to work. She no longer dropped things as often. The chores that once felt impossible now felt normal. But even in this peaceful place, something was changing. One afternoon, Caleb returned from town later than usual. Elena noticed it right away. He tied his horse near the fence, his face calm, but quieter than before. "You're late," Elena said, walking toward him. Caleb nodded slightly. "Had some things to hear." Elena felt a small worry in her chest. "What kind of things?" Caleb looked at her for a moment, then spoke simply. "People are looking for you." Elena froze. The world around her suddenly felt smaller. "Looking for me?" she repeated softly. Caleb nodded. "Your family. They've been asking questions in town." Elena's hands began to shake. "They're close?" she asked. "Not here yet," Caleb said, "but they're getting closer." The fear she thought was gone came rushing back. "I have to leave," Elena said quickly. "I can't stay here. I don't want to bring trouble to you." She turned, ready to go inside and gather what little she had, but Caleb's voice stopped her. "Running again won't fix it." Elena turned back, her eyes filled with worry. "You don't understand," she said. "If they find me here—" "They will find you anywhere," Caleb said calmly. His words hit her hard. She didn't want to believe it, but deep inside, she knew it was true. That evening felt different. The air was still, but heavy. Even the animals seemed quieter. Elena sat outside, her thoughts racing. What should she do? Run again? Hide somewhere else? Or go back and lose her freedom forever? She felt trapped. Caleb walked over and stood beside her. "You're thinking too fast," he said. Elena looked at him. "I don't have time to think slowly." "You do," he replied. "You just don't trust it." Elena looked away. "I'm scared," she admitted. Caleb nodded. "I know." She took a deep breath. "If they come, I won't be strong enough to face them." Caleb's voice stayed steady. "You're stronger than you think." Elena shook her head. "No, I ran away. That's not strength." Caleb looked at her carefully. "Running got you out," he said, "but staying and facing them, that's where strength begins." Elena stayed silent. His words felt heavy, but also true. The next morning, the tension grew. A distant sound echoed across the land. Horses. Elena heard it first. Her heart jumped. "They're here," she whispered. Caleb stood still, listening. A few moments later, he nodded. Yes. Elena's fear returned fully. "I have to go," she said again, stepping back. "I can't do this." She turned, ready to run like before. But Caleb stepped in front of her, not blocking her with force, but standing firm. "Look at me," he said. Elena slowly raised her eyes. "You can keep running," Caleb said, "and you'll feel this fear again and again." Elena's breathing was fast. "Or," he continued, "you can stand here and end it." Elena felt frozen. The sound of horses was getting closer. "I don't know how," she said softly. Caleb's voice softened slightly. "You don't need to know everything," he said. "Just speak the truth." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "What if they don't listen?" Caleb gave a small nod. "Then at least you will." The riders appeared in the distance, 3 figures on horses moving toward the ranch. Elena's heart pounded loudly. This was the moment. She could still run, she could still hide, but something inside her had changed. She looked at Caleb. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. For the first time, the choice was truly hers. Elena took a slow breath, then another. Her hands stopped shaking. "I won't run," she said quietly. Caleb nodded once. "That's enough." The riders came closer, their horses slowing as they reached the fence. Elena stepped forward. Each step felt heavy, but also strong. Her past was right in front of her now, but she was no longer the same person who ran away in fear. She stood still, waiting, ready. As the wind moved softly around her, Elena realized something important. Fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. And for the first time, she was not running from her life. She was ready to face it. The horses stopped near the fence. Dust slowly settled in the air as the riders looked down at Elena. For a moment, no one spoke. The man in front stepped forward slightly. He was older, dressed neatly, with a serious face. Elena recognized him. He worked for her family. "Elena," he said, his voice calm but firm, "you've caused a lot of worry." Elena stood still. Her heart was beating fast, but her feet did not move. "I'm not coming back," she said. The man frowned slightly, surprised by her direct words. "You don't understand," he replied. "Your family is waiting. Everything is ready. You must return." Elena shook her head. "No," she said again, stronger this time. "I won't." The other riders exchanged looks. They were not expecting this. "You don't have a choice," the man said. Elena felt the old fear trying to return, but she remembered Caleb's words. "Just speak the truth." She took a deep breath. "I do have a choice," she said, "and I choose my own life." The man's expression changed. He looked at her more carefully now. "This is not how things are done," he said. Elena nodded slightly. "I know," she replied, "but that doesn't make it right." There was a long silence. The wind moved gently through the open land. Somewhere behind her, Elena knew Caleb was standing, watching quietly, not stepping in, not speaking, just there. That gave her strength. The man spoke again. "Your family has given you everything," he said. "A home, a future, respect. And now you walk away from it?" Elena's eyes softened, but her voice stayed steady. "They gave me a life," she said, "but they never gave me a choice." The words hung in the air. For the first time, the man had no quick answer. "You're making a mistake," he said after a moment. Elena shook her head gently. "Maybe," she said, "but it will be my mistake." The riders looked at each other again. Something had changed. They did not see the same girl they had come to take back. This Elena stood tall, calm, and certain. The man sighed quietly. "If you do this," he said, "things will not be the same." Elena nodded. "I know," she said. Another pause. Then, slowly, the man pulled the reins of his horse. "Very well," he said. "We will tell them your decision." He gave her one last look. "I hope you understand what you are giving up." Elena met his eyes. "I do," she said, "and I also know what I'm gaining." The man said nothing more. He turned his horse. The other riders followed, and just like that, they left. Elena stood there, watching until they disappeared into the distance. The land became quiet again. The tension faded. Her body felt light, almost unreal. She had done it. She had faced them, and she had chosen. Slowly, she turned around. Caleb was standing a few steps behind her. His arms rested at his sides, his expression calm as always. Elena walked toward him. "I thought I couldn't do it," she said softly. Caleb nodded. "But you did." Elena let out a small breath, almost like a laugh. "I was still scared." "That doesn't go away," Caleb said. "You just stop letting it decide for you." Elena smiled a little. For the first time, her fear felt smaller than her courage. The sun began to rise higher in the sky, warming the land. Everything looked the same, but everything felt different. Elena looked around the ranch, the fence, the horses, the open fields. This place had changed her, or maybe it had helped her find who she already was. She turned back to Caleb. "I should go," she said. Caleb raised an eyebrow slightly. "Go where?" Elena paused. "I don't know yet," she admitted, "but I want to build something of my own." Caleb nodded. "That sounds like a good start." She looked down for a moment, then back up. "Thank you," she said, "for helping me." Caleb shook his head slightly. "I didn't help you," he said. "I just didn't stop you." Elena smiled. She picked up her small bag. Her journey wasn't over. In many ways, it was just beginning. She walked toward the gate and stopped. The open land stretched far ahead. So many paths, so many choices. For the first time, they all belonged to her. Behind her, Caleb spoke. "You don't owe this place anything," he said. Elena turned slightly. "But," he added, "you're welcome to stay, if it's where you choose to be." Elena looked at him. Then she looked at the land again. She took a slow breath. This time, she wasn't running. She was choosing. And that made all the difference. The wind moved softly as Elena stood at the gate, the sunlight falling across her face. A new life waited ahead, not one decided for her, but one she would decide for herself. And no matter where she went next, she would never run again.